Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and welcome. It's Nurse Richard, the Wax Wizard. Thank you for joining me. Bit of a difficult one, this. Now, this chap came to see me. He was a young man. I want to say he was in his early 20s. And as you can see, he's got this really thick, black, dry lump of wax. It's like a lump of coal, more like, in his ear. Now, my first question was, have you poked anything in there? Have you used cotton bud? His answer was no. I'm not going to lie, I didn't believe him. You'll see why as it gets towards the end. Because after we get this out, which was a bit of a battle, he had some that was trapped, hence the title of the video. Trapped really deep down, just in front of his eardrum. And he had quite a pronounced recess. And if you don't know what that is, I know I'm slightly repeating myself here. To those of you who've seen this video before, it goes narrow before it gets to the eardrum and it widens out, and then you can get these trenches, troughs, whatever you want to call them. And it's just at the base there where I had this really awkward stubborn bit left. And it was a bit of a lot of a faff to get out. Now this was extremely dry, so it was really difficult to get a good suction grip off. You need to ideally a nice flat moist surface, and a lot of people don't like the word moist, do they? I don't know why. It explains exactly what you mean. So I think I'd get some oil in a bit. But first I'm just trying to lift it up and peel it away, because underneath it there will be a slightly flatter surface. That's what I'm trying to do. Is it might appear like I'm just inanely just wiggling this thing about just for the fun of it, but I'm not. I'm just trying to lift it up to get underneath it. And a bit deep for any tools is I don't really like using them in the bony portion of the ear if I can avoid it, because it's very sensitive and it comes with a fair amount of risks. Speaking of risks, I do want to bring up, because I know Neil's been talking about this quite a lot lately, about the amount of people who are doing this, i.e. earwax removal, really shouldn't be. They really shouldn't. I've just put some oil in here, as you can see, because I'm noticing it more and more in this area here where I work in, which is in the northwest of England. I'm slap bang in the middle of, you've got Manchester here, Liverpool here, slap bang in the middle there, which is a great place to be. But there's so many practitioners. I'm not even going to call them practitioners. I know we refer to them as lay people, don't we? Who are doing this kind of thing. And it got me really annoyed the other day, because I saw, and if this is you watching this video, then stop it. just stop it. Because it should only be done by a registered healthcare professional, I would say. And now on that list I would include obviously nurses, doctors, ENT specialists, audiologists, occasionally hearing aid dispensers, and that's it. Actually, possibly paramedics too, because I've been on a few training courses and I've come across quite a few paramedics that they are very good at this kind of thing. And they've got a good healthcare background of any other conditions that might be going on. But other than that, nobody else should be doing this, because I saw, what made me really mad was I saw an advert. It was on Facebook and somebody tagged me in on it, and it was a beauty therapist slash masseuse who had started doing this. Now I've got a very good idea which company trained them, and I know Neil has openly shared this as well. There's one company in particular who use I'm not even going to call it an endoscope, because it's a really poorly designed device, and they'll train anybody, absolutely anybody. And yeah, I saw this masseuse getting trained and advertising, and I was reading down in the comments, you know, because she said like first 10 or something free, something like that. And then I saw in the comments, oh, can you see my kids? Like, how old is he? Like 9 years old. I'm like, 9 years old? How on earth would you let anybody who's not a healthcare professional near a 9-year-old child? in the rear with sharp implements. You just really wouldn't. And it's not so much the risks of the procedure itself, it's the risks of missing stuff. Only this week what have I come across? I think 2 or possibly 3 middle ear cholesteatomas, a couple of canal cholesteatomas. These will all appear in some videos coming up shortly. And probably 2 cases of keratosis obturans, one where it was there's been an extensive remodeling in the ear, and on top of that probably about 10 infections. And I did count because it's coming towards the end of the year, and at the end of every year I just go through on my list of patients and on my list of referrals just to try and chase up some of them and catch up with them. But it's easy said than done sometimes, getting updates from the doctors. I know they're very busy people. And I counted that it's been about 500 people who I've seen who have needed a further onwards referral. And there's no way that any of these other practitioners who are not healthcare professionals would know what half of these conditions were that I've had to refer onwards for. So if you do see any, and they're probably a little bit cheaper than us as well. But what's the old saying? You get what you pay for. But it's becoming a bit of a joke now. It really is. It's becoming beyond a joke. So there's no regulation at all. If you didn't know that, there's no regulation in the UK. Anybody can legally open up a practice, call themselves an earwax practitioner. Some are even calling themselves audiologists, because that's not a protected title, and I'll get into that another day, which is ridiculous. But if you do see of anybody, just do your due diligence, I think would be my advice. I'm hoping that regulation comes in. There's so many of us who've been in touch with our local MPs. I think the government have got more on the mind at the moment, because the last one didn't take any notice of any of this. And I know there are some professional bodies who are trying to get, who are in some groups, which are trying to get all this sorted out, but that's not happened yet. Again, I'm not holding my breath on that. You tend to find that the more organisations you get involved in a group, the longer it takes to make any decisions. But just hopefully not too many people get misdiagnosis and injured until some regulation can come in, because I'm sure it will. It just needs to happen sooner rather than later. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry for that little rant. Got to be done sometimes. Hope you enjoyed that. But for now, take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da.